Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Prime Live. We are honored to welcome Shameema Siddique, who is a South African psychologist extraordinaire with a flair for words. Her debut novel, The Stylish Psychologist, is a love letter to the stylish, strong woman in corporate spaces, but her passionate work in writing goes way, way back, with early accolades for eloquent writing and poetry in her school days. A lifetime of honing her craft has brought her to this literary milestone, and we can't wait to see what's next for this brilliant author. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for joining us on Prime Live.
Wa alaikum salam, and thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you so much for joining us, Shameema. I mean, we're super excited to delve into your journey as an author, as well as delving into some of the key topics and themes of your novel as well. But before we actually get there, what to finally make that leap of faith from, yes, being a psychologist, but also becoming a published author? Can you tell us more about the journey?
So, writing, I believe, distills the truth, and I've always been a huge truth seeker. So, for me, writing was the pursuit of myself, and I knew that it was something that I had to explore because I was very interested to know who I was and, go to those depths. And I think if I look at psychology really speaks a lot to potential. We all have latent potential. We have genius, we have intelligence, we have artistic abilities. And I spent a lot of my time manifesting the talents of others and the potential of others. And I knew at some point I would have to return to myself and gift that ability to me. And for me, it took the form of writing. And it really felt like a natural progression because it's, dealing with people and behaviors. So you're analyzing very deeply the nuance around the human condition. So it kind of made sense to play that out in a creative way. And I love the beauty of writing and the power of it.
Absolutely. I can definitely see how the connection between psychology can merge with becoming an author, because that's exactly what it's about. It's understanding the human experience and then being able to relay a story based on connection and based on maybe even personal experience, and being able to relate to your audience as well. Now, I know you are a extraordinaire when it comes to being a psychologist, but how did you actually find the time and energy to be able to balance your work as a psychologist with your writing pursuits as well? Because we know that, being an author is not exactly an easy feat. It is quite a journey, and it is quite an achievement as well.
Yes, I actually think it was a very conscious decision to create these pockets of space within myself. And I almost created like chambers in time where I just allowed myself to just free flow and, organically figure out how am I going to do this, in my life with everything that I have going on. And I do believe that it takes a little bit of courage to also detach from what you've been doing for so long. And typically, those are our chosen career paths. So for me, it was a very conscious choice. I'm going to create time and space and almost a container within myself where that become an option and a possibility for me to create another whole version of myself as an author, as a writer.
I
It's a
think
very
what
powerful experience to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And I think what people can also take away from your journey and your experiences more so is that we don't just have to stick to being one thing. We can be multifaceted, and we can absolutely also explore our full potential and reach for other destinations or even other industries as well. Now, something that a lot of
Mhm.
authors come to realization is when they decide, okay, I think this novel is ready and I think it's ready to go out. How did you know when your novel
Mhm.
was ready to be published? And what was the process like to be able to get into that world?
There is something very real about holding a printed copy in your hand. So you have this beautiful book, and it's this whole tactile sensory experience. You have finished the book, and now what do you do with it? And I think that's the moment where you start to reflect on the input. There is so much that goes into crafting a book, and to actually see it in finality, I think gives you a new level of appreciation for what the next steps are going to be. So I think the readiness comes in when you know how much you put into the process, and then you actually do feel like you need to or deserve to celebrate that. And that's where it starts to kickstart the whole journey around narrative and, exploring and unpacking that. The process is immense. I decided to go about it in a very interesting way, in a very colorful way, by launching it at SA Fashion Week in Dubai. I had a book signing soiree at Mind Game escape rooms, and I was really trying to create an immersive experience with books. And that was a very interesting journey and a very good PR approach to it, I guess. And yeah, I think the acclaim that it received from Glamour magazine really brought it to the fore. And that came with another whole round of publicity. And now it's with exclusive books. And yeah, the celebration continues.
I mean, congratulations. I mean, this is a stellar achievement. And I really like your unique approach to PR and finding ways to reach people. And we don't often see authors in these kind of spaces, but I love that you've tapped into a completely different way of marketing a book. And we congratulate you on your incredible journey thus far. Now, what I also want to touch on this evening was there any particular reason that you chose to focus on the topic of infertility as well as IVF treatments in the novel? I know this is an incredibly important topic that relates to so many couples and so many people. So I know that this book is going to be incredibly touching and will resonate with a lot of readers. But is there a particular reason why you chose this narrative particularly?
Look, it's a chicklet genre and it's focused on a female protagonist who is kind of at that point where she's, in her late 20s, wanting to be maniacal about achieving everything in life, all aspects of life, her career, marriage, relationships, having a baby. And, she is essentially moving into womanhood and the maturity around that. So I really wanted to not, just have a frivolous discussion and narrative and a fun bubblegum kind of story. Being the stylish psychologist, that was meant to intimate that there's going to be some depth. And I thought, from observation and from witnessing what so many females are enduring, yet they still show up in the workplace, I thought that that was a particularly good topic. And it's also something that a lot of women and men are grappling with in relationships. So I chose to hone in on that. And it's not very evident that that's what the book would start to show you in the storyline, but it does get quite graphic. And I think the balance with humor and then also educating women reading up on fertility made it very personable, very relatable. And these are harsh realities of what's going on in the world of corporate. Women are straddling feminine and masculine energies and going through some incredibly delicate processes. And it is something that needs to be discussed a lot more. I truly believe that. Mm.
I truly love the narratives and the approach you've taken to designing this character, because I do believe she will be so relatable to a lot of women in corporate as well as men as well, and particularly couples who are undergoing issues when it comes to fertility. And it's such an important topic. And I love that you're bringing it to the forefront and you're bringing it to light in order for, yes, a sense of awareness, but also your book will also provide a lot of much needed support and resonance with people, with women and men and couples in general who are struggling with this particular issue. But I think I have to also ask, as an author, you always have an intention or a hope on what you might believe or what you might hope that your readers will take away. What do you hope that readers will be able to take away from the story of Azra Shah, both personally and in a professional sense?
Azra Shah is a very sassy character. I think her intent is flawless. She really has aspirations to do some amazing work. And I think there are a lot of beautiful women who enter the workspace, and one has to almost visualize Priyanka Chopra or Aishwarya Rai entering a human resources department. What sort of reception is she going to get? She's beautiful and stylish, and she's educated and smart, and that obviously comes with a professional war. People feel threatened, they feel intimidated, and the book speaks a lot to corporate politics and how to navigate that. I think the lessons that I hope people would derive from the book is that you get to choose your revenge. You get to choose your peace. There are always allies within the organizational environment, and there are always going to be enemies and frenemies. It's the nature of the game. And I think it's critical that people build mental toughness and resilience and, just work the system as best you can and remain as positive as you can in that space. So that's from a professional point of view. And then personally, you kind of get a sense when you read the book without saying too much that her husband's quite detached, even though she's going through so much. Does he know what she's really going through as a woman, as a career woman? His Mirza is kind of this guy who's always on his phone. He's always preoccupied, something we see a lot of these days, and then she is tempted by attention that she's receiving from, a male colleague in the work environment. And what does she do? How does she use her judgment? How does she balance those temptations? And I think it really becomes a story around, we are always going to be encountering variables. We have to choose to remain that constant and always choose what you value more than what you don't. There is a rating scale for what we value and what we believe in. So I hope that readers will derive and interpret what that means for them, especially women working in the corporate space.
Exactly. I mean, working in a corporate space can be absolutely so daunting, and it can look like the stylish woman is painted with a perfect brush and a perfect picture, but she's actually going through so much. And I think that the humanness that I feel when you talk about Azra and her journey can be something that is going to relate to a lot of people and bring a lot of truth to power. And like you said, people are able to then, or readers rather, then able to derive their own perception of her journey and her story and relate it back to what they are possibly experiencing personally and professionally as well. But before we let you go, where can our viewers get a copy of your book? And I know that there is a press tour also coming up. Please share all the details with us.
So the book is available in Johannesburg at Sandton City and Mall of Africa. So you can head over to get your copy there. It's based at all Durban exclusive bookstores, and it's soon to be stocked at Canal Walk in Cape Town. So I've just come out of a Durban book tour, which has been absolutely incredible. The community it's attracted and the kind of elevated conversations that have come out of this experience have been immense. So I really enjoyed that. So I've done a lot in Durban. Cape Town is next. That's happening on the 16th of October at Canal Walk. That's going to be quite a star-studded event, a larger launch. Quite looking forward to that one. And then, yes, I absolutely would love to do either a book launch or a book signing in Johannesburg, in Pretoria. And I'm definitely receiving a lot of positive affirmation and invites to come to the city. So it's exciting. There's a national presence that's starting to form. And there's also plans for international representation with literary agents and possibly a series as well.
I mean, it sounds absolutely exciting, and we are so excited for you, and we definitely are going to be plugged in for the rest of the journey, and we hope to see you very, very soon in Johannesburg. But also, before we let you go, I do have one more question for you this evening. I know that being an author and taking that leap of faith in being an author can be an incredibly daunting step. And we might have viewers in the audience this evening who have maybe considered taking that step, but haven't quite gotten there as yet. What advice would you have for them this evening?
Writing is definitely a catharsis. It's a way of healing. It's a way of deeply connecting with yourself. It's very doable if you have learned how to be consistent. And if you want to practice the art of discipline, it's a good way to do it. I really, truly believe, I mean, it's only been my first book, but I do believe that a version of me has died with that book and a new version has emerged. And I like that. It really speaks to an evolution. And this is our birthright. We need to keep going. So to those who are aspirant writers, you need to believe in yourself despite the imposter syndrome. You need to learn technique, get a writing coach if you fancy that, and need added confidence in your writing. And yeah, take it one page, one chapter at a time until you finish the book. But please finish the book, because that's what matters really, and that's what will determine whether you become an author.
Thank you so much for sharing that piece of wisdom and advice with our viewers this evening. But Shameema, it's been such a pleasure having a conversation with you, and it's always amazing to see women thriving in these spaces. So congratulations on all your achievements thus far, and we look forward to following the journey and hopefully a series very, very soon. So thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me tonight.
It's been such a pleasure. Viewers at home, that was Shameema Siddique, the author of The Stylish Woman, who is Azra Shah, and she is navigating, yes, the world of corporate, but she is also overcoming severe adversity as well. So navigating the corporate space along with infertility issues and undergoing IVF treatment, she is the girl who is navigating the world. So this is definitely a novel that is going to speak to and resonate with a lot of people across the world. And we do hope and wish Shameema the absolute all the wisdom and all the success she desires to be able to get this onto an international platform. And it's already, even though it's just her debut novel and it's just been debuted and launched very, very recently, it has already achieved such success. But do let us know on your social media platforms, if you have any questions for Shameema, and if you would like any further information on how to attend her possible upcoming events in Johannesburg as well. She did mention that she is going to do a press tour and is hopefully joining us in Johannesburg for a launch of her incredible book. So do reach out to her on our social media platforms, or do send us your questions as well. And if you are an aspiring author out there, I do hope you took some words of wisdom from her journey and her experience to transitioning from a psychologist to an author.